Welcome to this awesome session that we are about to have. It's just beautiful to see a lot of creatives in the same space. We have some creative practitioners here, we have some creative investors here, and then we also have the deal architects also here with us. So it's going to be a very interesting conversation today. In this session, we have the Barnes brothers or the Burns brothers who are looking at exploring the creative space in Africa, how they can connect Africa to the West. And then also we have Zoe, we have Kofi here, and then some of the actors, that's Uncle Ricky, Endurance, and the last guy, I forgot his name. But yeah,
William.
but I'll just give everybody a minute to briefly introduce yourself and tell us what you do. I think a minute is even too much. Like 30 seconds should be fine. Briefly introduce yourself and tell us what you do, and then we'll be able to take the conversation forward. I hope that's okay. So I'll start from the bottom of my screen. I can see the producer there for The Fisherman. So yeah. Mm.
Um, my name is Kofi Owusu, and I'm the producer of The Fisherman. I'm based in Accra, Ghana. And yeah, that's basically just it about me. Quite brief.
All right, good. Next.
I'm Zoe Martinson. I'm the writer director of The Fisherman.
All right. Um, Next to you, John.
My name is John Burns. I'm one of the founders of the Burns Brothers, and we are really trying to help really bridge the worlds of creative worlds from the West to Africa, specifically around television and film. We've been doing television and film and in live entertainment in the U.S. for almost 2 decades, and so we've been obviously doing work in Africa and East Africa for the last 8+ years. And so, how can we begin to bridge those worlds across these really cool creative sectors and leverage the brilliance of both those worlds coming together? And so, super excited for this conversation. And we saw the trailer for The Fisherman in kudos, incredibly funny. Actually, looking forward to seeing the actual masterpiece live.
Ah, great. Now to you, Mike.
Yeah, nothing more to add than what John. I'm the other founder of the Burns Brothers, and yes, we are brothers. People always say, "Are you brothers, or are you like just brothers?" And we're like, we're both. But I second what John said. The trailer concept is just so unique, absolutely hilarious. Look forward to this conversation, and kudos to all of you for being part of something special, and look forward to seeing how we can support you moving forward.
Right. I'll start with Uncle Ricky and then it continues that way.
Well, I'm Ricky Kofi Adelaita. I'm an actor based in Accra. I play the lead in the production, The Fisherman.
Ah,
Hello, my name is Endurance Dejo, an actor and a dance artist based in Accra, and I play the role Sasha in a Fisherman film.
Hi,
all right.
everybody. My name is William Lamte. I'm a theater and a film actor from Ghana, and I play the role Kobina in The Fisherman.
All right. All right. All right. Thank you very much, guys. I mean, today's conversation is one that I'm super and personally excited about because it's going to be the right intersection between creative practitioners, like I said earlier, and investors as well. So let me start things off by knowing a bit about the Barnes brothers or the Burns brothers. How did it all start? And also, one critical thing I saw on your website, and I'm like, wow, okay. You describe yourselves as the deal architects. So what does that mean? You know, in the broader perspective of things, what does that mean? But yeah, let's start with you, Mike. How did the whole idea of the Burns brothers start?
Well, we started the Burns Brothers, and I'll make it really brief, back probably about 7 or 8 years ago. During the time in the United States, there was a lot of social unrest around a gentleman by the name of George Floyd and his killing. And John and I both had jobs in corporate America. I was an executive in a Fortune 500 company. John was a partner in a law firm. And we felt that what we were doing at that point wasn't going to change the situation for little are adult brown and black people around the world. And I have two little boys, and I'll never forget I was on a call with the CEO and the CFO of the company that I work for, and we were talking about cutting real estate at the same time that an 8.5 minute video of George Floyd being killed. And I looked at pictures of my two little black boys on the desk, and I said, "How is this conversation going to ensure that what's happening on that TV will never happen for my sons?" And at that point in time, I hung up the phone. I called John. I said, "Do you want to go out and change the world?" And so we dropped our 2 week notice directly after that in the middle of COVID. And that was the start of the Burns Brothers. But we were always about how do we drive and show the world the excellence of people of color across the globe? And how do we help us as people own our space? Right, and be unapologetically great. And we started in the United States. We were then introduced to the continent through some partnerships. And now our life over the past probably 7 to 10 years has been dedicated to showing the world the amazing talent that sits on the continent of Africa.
Anything you want to add, John? I
No, I
mean,
think
for
that was
you,
perfect.
no, but then for you, my question would be, how is it that your senior brother calls you to, like, hey, let's do this, and then you also follow it, just drop in your notice and everything. What about what he said, like, sparked that interest in you?
I think for both of us, we come from an advocacy background. Our mother was a community leader and an entrepreneur. Our grandfather was president of NAACP in Texas. And so for us, we believed in the importance of impact and advocacy. We live by the kind of a principle that you can do good and do well. And so it's like the double bottom line concept. And so for us, we weren't living our truth, nor were we living our purpose. And I think there's few times in your life you can kind of step into a moment. And we really felt that was a moment that we could step forward and really lead with purpose and impact. And ultimately it changed our lives and it opened doors that we could not even have dreamed of.
So then it makes sense when your senior brother calls you, and then you just show up and drop your 2 weeks notice, and then that's it.
Yeah, and the special thing about it was, I don't know if you guys know, but in the United States we have a holiday called Juneteenth.
Yes.
So we actually dropped our notice Juneteenth weekend. So it was actually even
It
more
was our
special.
freedom. We were getting our freedom.
It was our freedom papers. It was our
Literally.
Yeah.
Literally. Now, let me come to you, Zoe. I mean, you are an American, but the need for you to say, okay, I want to tell the story of Africa, do you get? Because people feel like, oh, how does it concern you? How does it even relate to you? So why did you decide to write a story or to write a script to tell the story of Africa?
When I was younger, I lived in Keita, which is in the Volta region in Ghana. And it had a very impactful moment in my life. I think I had come from an American system that like I was raised within it. And so it's very hard to see kind of what the walls or, the limitations when you're within them. You're just kind of doing your day, trying to get through. And so coming to Ghana at that point in my life was just eye-opening, and it was kind of life-changing. It forced me into a place of healing. It kind of forced me into a place of really embracing who I wanted to be. I think before that, I hadn't really declared who I wanted to be in the world. And for some reason, when I was in this remote fishing village in Kaita, I came out at kind of knowing who I wanted to be in the world and what I wanted to do in the world as a storyteller, and willing to say, I want to be an artist, and I want to be a writer, and I want to be a director, and I'm going to do it. And so I've always returned to Ghana throughout my life. It's one of the first places I got a start in the filmmaking industry. Africa is the first place that hired me as a female director on television after I had went to NYU grad and trained and done all the hoops and shadowed on Succession on HBO. And then South Africa was like, you know what, you're qualified, we'll hire you. And then I could come back to the States. It took so much longer as a Black female director to get hired. So it's like, it's always invested in me. It's always poured into me. And so it was very important for me, especially in this feature film, to make sure I was pouring back into Africa, that I was taking the film out here, even if people haven't really released films in different territories. Usually they just release in their home territory. So we were just like, we're going to do that because it's important to start that conversation and, boosting the creative economy throughout just Africa. And that's kind of why I made them. Yeah.
That's good. But Kofi, how's the collaboration like? Having such a story, you going through it, saying, okay, I'll produce this, I'll be part of this project. What was it about her script that made you decide to say, you know something, I want to partner with you, I want to be part of this, and I want to produce this?
I mean, first of all, we've been friends, for quite a while before the script came out. So, and we've been friends to the extent that we share in our creative ideas. We share a lot in common. So, and she knows that there's hardly an idea that she'll come up with that I'll say no to. So, this was an easy yes, just even reading, because the film was based off a short that we did in 2018. So just even yeah. So, and the shot did really well. Like it was the first Ghanaian film to ever get an award at the American Black Film Festival. And also it got nominated for the Oscars back in that's what,
Oh, no,
2019.
it just got shortlisted.
It got shortlisted, sorry.
Shortlisted, okay.
For the Oscars. Yeah.
It's coming from me.
It's prophesied.
You're like me.
It got
I always
shortlisted, yes.
make overstatements too. So you're good, my
Yes.
brother. Don't worry.
So, and whilst the shot was going on that journey, we happened to have done a screening in the UK where it was to a sold out audience. And whilst like after the screening, we're in the foyer having discussions with the audience, and an old lady and her grandson came up to us, and this was a white lady, and she was like, I've never been to Ghana. I'm so glad you guys opened my eyes to a world that I'd never known existed. And my grandson is going into filmmaking, and I'm so glad he got to see this because this would actually spur him on to make good films. And I was touched by that. So we went back, and Zoe went on, got married, had started her family. I let her be, and then gradually, because for me, I felt we owed the world another one, like a full-length version of the film. So when she was ready to come back
No,
to
it
work,
was during the writer's strike. I was unemployed. He's like, I know you're unemployed. And I was like, he's right. I was
But it
working on a
sounded so much
project.
nicer
And
than when he said it.
He's like, yeah, so we should write this. It's time for you to write this film.
yeah.
Procrastinated. I was like, you're right. So that's actually.
So I just felt we owed the world, a full-length version of the film, which, knowing her and her brilliance when it comes to writing, it was a no-brainer. When the script came out, we just got to work, and we finally got it out. So here we are.
All right, great. Now Uncle Ricky, by the way, just so you guys would know, Kofi is into IT. I don't know what he's doing in the creative space. So let's just put it out there. John is an ex-military man. No, Mike is an ex-military man. John is a lawyer. I don't say because I'm sure he still practices. Yeah, but John is a lawyer, and also Uncle Ricky. He has been in the acting space for over 40 years now. Now, my question to him is this. You've been doing this for 40 years. When you look at this script, this storytelling, it's moving beyond the shores of Ghana to Europe, back to Africa, exploring the continent of Africa with this movie. What would you say has been your proudest moment, and what about it stands out for you?
Well, my proudest moment was when we went to Venice after the movie and everything. During the premiere, when the film was being shown, 2 times the whole house got up to give us a standing ovation.
Oh, in Venice.
That was my proudest moment. I shed tears. Yes, seriously. So that's it.
All right. Now, Endurance, and to you as well. What stands out for you in this feature film? Because I'm sure you would have done a lot of productions, a lot of stage stuff and everything. But then again, same thing to you as well. What stood out for you in this process when you were going through this whole creative process? What stood out for you? What are the key things that you're able to get?
I've always wanted to make an impact one way or the other, but I didn't know how. So when this opportunity came to me, which I wasn't, I was very shocked that I was going, who thought about me to be in a film in the first place? You know, I had to embrace it. And Zoe is a strong believer of woman empowerment. And one of the key message that the Fisherman film highlights, it's letting the society know that what a man can do, a woman can do it as well. And
Yeah,
I've always wanted to be one of the women to hold that message and make sure that the young generation, even the old generation, gets to remind themselves that we are important and equal as well. So that was one of the things that stood out for me. And I just had to embrace this project. Yeah.
All right. All right. Also to you.
Yeah, so one of the things that stood out to me is the first time I received the script and I read the script, I mean, I just had to focus on it to finish it because I couldn't afford any distraction because it was very good and so funny that I got really engrossed in it. So during the process, I realized the style of Zoe Martinson is different from the style that I've known as a performer or as an actor in Ghana. It's also shaped me in a way, my creative mind, how to develop the character and bring it out. And I feel like this was a movie that like we all needed to be able to project cinema from Ghana, cinema from Africa to the world. And so I feel it's a life-changing movie and it's really helped me, shaped me as well. And I love the themes that the film also touches on. And it's also giving me, it hasn't only been a film, it hasn't only been an act, but it's also created a relationship for me because now I have been able to connect very much with Uncle Ricky, have even a better connection with Endurance. She's more like a best friend to me now.
Oh, thank
Due
you.
to how we were able to
Was that surprising?
yeah, how we were able to bond. Due to how we're able to bond in the film. It's even gone beyond the film and we're making like great ways as friendship.
Honestly, to add to what he said, it's like cast and crew are like one family.
Yeah.
Honestly, till now. Even those who are not here with us, those who have not been moving with us since we finished the filming, anytime, anywhere we meet, it's like, hey, Big Brother is back home.
Yeah.
That sort of attitude. So it's great.
Exactly.
Ah,
Yeah.
great, great, great. Now, let me come back to the Bonds brothers. I think I'll be on you, the two of you, for some time because I want to move into the phase of the creative economy of Africa because you guys believe we are sitting on a gold mine in Africa. And I really want to understand from your perspective what gives you that belief to know that Africa is the future leader, or is even leading now when it comes to like the creative space. And I mean, describing it as a gold mine tells you that we have a lot. So what gives you that belief?
Yeah, I'm happy to jump in. I mean, obviously, it starts with the people, right? So I think from like a talent perspective, it's the most talented people in the world, right? And so how can we, through our relationships, through our expertise, how can we help support, amplify, elevate, finance, believe in, provide opportunities to this amazing talent? And initially, we got started doing work in Africa through the call center BPO industry because of obviously, Mike used to run one of the biggest BPO call centers in the world. And through that, we got great insight around the level, the capability set, this amazing talent within that sector. As we explored more, we learned more about the creative economy. And obviously, it's not at scale compared to the West. So we believe in how can we support, how can we provide jobs, how, again, can we elevate the young people, the older folks, the middle-aged people across the continent who just need opportunities to come to them. And I think the creative economy is something that not only we're focused on, but I think it is a focus across the continent, whether it be public or private, because they all see that this is an industry that is not to where it could be. And obviously the talent, the demand, the wherewithal, all that exists. It's just now, how do you create the systems, the infrastructure, the platforms to really make it a viable product? And so that's something we're very, very focused on.
All right. Zoe, I'll come to you. I mean, as a practitioner, in the space? Because, sometimes when you are in the space, you're able to identify some of the gaps in the space. Do you get? So, I mean, as somebody who has been, worked in South Africa, moved to Ghana, now in Kenya, what would be your assessment of the gaps that we have in this space? John has touched on the fact that we have like the talent, but from your perspective, do you see that we really have the talent? And looking at infrastructure, looking at investment and all of that, what would be how would you identify the gaps in the creative space in Africa?
This is a big question. It's a long question. I'm gonna try and be brief. Um,
Sure.
I would say the gaps are, so it's a system that kind of built itself around a Hollywood system that was meant to serve, um, you know, well, first of all, there's different systems. There's like the theater system. The theater system, as far as like physically going to the theater and seeing plays, is actually quite strong, stronger than the United States generally. And it's probably on par with like the UK. And so it's very strong. And the theater system, as far as the, cinemas, they were all constructed to kind of, put big Hollywood movies in and earn money off of them. And so it's kind of it's made more for that system, and you see it. It's like a Hollywood movie will go everywhere all over the continent, but an African film won't. You won't see films from South Africa that are more universal, more Pan-African, travel to Nigeria. You won't see them go into cinemas in Ghana. And some stories are very local, which is beautiful and wonderful, but some actually can travel. And that one won't travel because that system is not supporting those films at all, And so that's kind of the first, is that the system just has to kind of want to change. And I think the nice thing about, like, I have to give Jotham at Century Pictures a shout out, because when we approached him, he was like, yeah, we don't traditionally do this, but I'm really like the fact that you guys are out here, like, we're talking to him in Ghana, and he's like, I just like you guys are trying to do this. It might not work, but let's do it. And I was like, yes, like, let's do it. Let's try. And we'll learn, we've learned a lot. And so next time we'll do it better. Like, we know what to account for, where the system might have a little holes that you need to fill in earlier. It's not like because one doesn't succeed, you back off. It's just that you take notes. And that is kind of like what we're doing now for each place we're going. It's like, yeah, it's the first time we're doing it. So we're just kind of taking notes and we're trying. Obviously, we want to sell tickets, but and we want people to see it, but we're also going, okay, next time, we're taking notes for the next time. As far as streaming, I think the hardest thing I see is that it's the same problem, I guess, in the US, because it's a system based off the US system that's happening right now, which is that usually the film would go into the cinemas and you have to cover the P&A costs, which are the marketing costs of the film. The P&A costs are very expensive, and the filmmakers or the producers or the financiers are expecting hopefully a return on the money they put in to make the film. That could happen, but there's a lot of systems that take money out before it ever gets back to the producers or the financiers. And they are, it's like 50% of the ticket is already eaten up. 20% are going to government, which I'm actually okay with, because I think taxes should go into local governments. But so there's actually this really small amount that goes back to the artist. And then out of that company's paying for their own P&A costs, which is press and marketing costs. That's the same in the US, but in the United States, oftentimes when a distributor takes the film, they cover the press and marketing costs. So they then recoup their money by, if it's not through ticket sales and they take a bit of a loss, they did it by selling DVDs, or they would do it by selling it to a streamer. And during the COVID, the streamers became studios. So they started making the movies, and they were no longer buying the movies, and there's no more Blockbuster or DVDs. And so the hole that they filled, which was the DVD hole, and then is gone. And so now there's nowhere to sell your film after you do a cinema run, and maybe you have a little bit of debt still on the film. There's nowhere to put your film, to stream your film. And it's like the pay one window. And in Africa, that's just been getting smaller because there's less, like Showmax just closed. That was one that bought it. Like, it's just been getting so linear. And that is going to cripple the creative economy because you can't continue to lose money and keep making something new, you know? So that's kind of right now where I see the hole. And the plus of that is that a lot of, bigger distributors are picking up the gauntlet where before they didn't because they were relying on the sale to Netflix or Prime or, but now they're going, we need to create a streaming platform that is just as strong, that is more, and so there's actually a bunch of problem solving happening. So although it's a really awful situation, it might actually in 10 years time or 5 years time lead to like a really brilliant solution, and I'm seeing that they're all trying to solve it. So it's not like without hope. It's just that at this moment, that's where I see the gap is that filmmakers here need all over this continent need a pay one.
All right. Kofi, anything you want to add to that?
No, she said it all. I mean, we just need to figure out our distribution. It's a major hurdle that we need to get over. Because you can create the content, but where is it going to go?
All right.
And that's what we talk about too when we look at the creative economy. Just to add to that, like you talked about the gold mine also is like straight capitalism. When you have the majority of the world's population sitting in one spot, there's money to be made there, right? So not only do you have the talent, but you have the people, and money always goes to where it can be made, right? It's just basic principle of business. But if you don't understand the value that you bring, people that take advantage of that, and you actually don't receive the money that you should get for the value that you actually dispose. So that's why I also think it's gold. But to the point that, Zoe made about distribution, when we look at it, talent and culture is like a very small sector of the creative economy. But if you don't own the platform, if you don't own the distribution, if you don't own the IP, then you don't own the creative economy. And so I think there's an opportunity, to Zoe's point, is that how do we use this as a moment for Africa to own the platforms and for Africa to own the distribution, for Africa definitely to own their IP? Because right now, when we talk to a lot of creatives, they're still relying on the Netflix. They're still relying on the other distribution platforms like the Spotify. And whatever rules they set in place, everyone is just subject to those rules. But once again, if you're the majority, you should be setting the rules, right? But you need to own and create the platforms in order to do that. So just wanted to add that as well.
All right. Now, to John, what are the focal points for you when you look at like the creative economy of Africa? Because there's so many aspects of it. What would you say are the focal points of the Barnes Brothers when it comes to the creative economy of Africa?
You're on mute.
I think it's really what Mike mentioned. I mean, we have seen that talent from Africa is exported, but ownership's imported, right? So when you have an ownership crisis and that content or the platforms or the infrastructure not being owned, obviously you are not able to leverage your talents to the fullest extent. And so for us, I think the primary goal is how can we support, empower ownership across the creative economy, across the ecosystem, whether it be platform creation, whether it be live entertainment infrastructure creation, whether it be distribution creation, studio creation, things like that help incubate a system where talent already exists, but ownership doesn't exist at scale. And so again, I think until you actually solve that, then you're going to run into issues where other external factors will ultimately influence your growth and your scalability. And so for us, we're really focused on how can we, again, basically bridge these two worlds where we understand, obviously, the unique capability sets of the West. We know the brilliance of Africa. How can we kind of bring those worlds together to create something that's very, very unique, but obviously really pouring in and empowering Africans to actually own their own systems and platforms? I think that's going to allow us collectively to control the narrative moving forward. And I think to Zoe's point too, I think this is actually a special moment in time where this is going to be an awakening moment. And I think some amazing concepts, amazing platforms are going to come as a result of being kind of pushed on the fringes from like a capability standpoint.
Thank you very much. I mean, I really love that. But when I look at all that Zoe has pointed out, looking at all the gaps in there and everything, one thing that I keep asking myself is this: people are always looking at, okay, I have money, I want to invest here, But if all of these are the problems, why should I put my money there? I don't know if you guys get what I'm trying to say. So why is it important now to, if somebody is, watching this right now, has money, and you're telling the person to invest, what would be that thing that you would tell the person, hey, I think it is important to invest here because of this and this and that? What would be those things that you would highlight for people to actually invest into the creative space? Because let me tell you, I come from Ghana. We have so many or so much content in Ghana, but people are always skeptical to invest. People are always a bit, like, hey, why should I put my money here? Why should I take, let's say, $100,000 and invest it into a movie? What's the return on investment and everything for me? So why do you think it's important for us to invest into the creative economy of Africa? I'll start with you on this with Mike.
I mean, it's to me, it's pretty simple. First of all, no one feels comfortable investing in anything until they don't, right? And so until they do feel comfortable, right? And it usually takes someone to do something or endorse something and or to be some type of return. But like that's just like basic principles of investing. No one felt comfortable investing in Uber, and now they look back and be like, "Damn, I wish I would have invested in Uber." Right? There's tons of people who don't feel comfortable, but I think that. I'm a big believer of like business principles are business principles no matter where you are in the world. And you have to look at the data and the business principles. You can't ignore the data that in 10 years, the Africa will have 40% of the youth population. You just can't ignore that, right? That's just in your face of data, right? You can't ignore the fact and look at people like the Burner Boys of the world, the people that are now global sensations, right? Where they're selling out stadiums all around the globe. You can't ignore those data points, right? You can't ignore that we're sitting here talking to amazing talent, right, that is now touring kind of different parts of the world with their movie. You can't ignore those things, right? You can kind of tell yourself on why it won't work, but if you actually just want to look at the data, you can't ignore the data. And so as an investor or as just someone in business, the data tells me that this is a good investment. Right? Now I can come up with all reasons why it's not, but if I just stay strictly on the data and don't let biases and all sorts of other things creep in, like the data tells me there's a no-brainer that I need to invest in Africa. China's not the place to invest. Europe's old. Japan's old. Like America is like in this weird space. It's not even a safe space to invest in. Like Africa is the space. So for me, it's the data. The data never lies. You just have to determine if you want to lean into it or not.
I mean, I really appreciate that a lot, and it's good you're talking about data because it's something that we really struggle to put together on this side. So I think I mean, as part of the investment, we should also look at, I mean, gathering the data as well, because I am sure Zoe will be looking for data, but wouldn't know where to find it, or Kofi will be looking for some data, but wouldn't know where to find it, because our data is pretty much scattered. So it will be good to like consolidate everything so that once you see it, you'll be able to tell where it's going. But I really appreciate that so much. Now, Zoe, to you, I mean, after producing the movie, you took it to the world, but now let's come to Africa. Why was it important for you to actually move it from here to another country? No problem at all. I can see.
Yes.
We're gonna go to
Yeah,
the other. Oh wait, the lights are on.
yeah, the lights are back. The lights are back. Yeah. But I mean, what influenced your decision to actually take the movie to Kenya, Zambia, essentially East Africa?
I
We've
think
spoken about this, but then for the benefit of the Benz brothers, what influenced your decision to say, okay, we need to take this here?
I actually know the data from the that Mike spoke about, like the fact that this is one of the youngest populations in the world. A lot of my work is kind of writing for that population currently, and it's important, I think the other thing that's, not really spoken of, but like in the diaspora, our skin color is always connected to this continent. Like, and if people aren't aware of it because they're in the diaspora and they've suffered generational trauma, they might not understand that the success of this continent, the places where it falls short, we are always tied to it. We're seen through its lens, no matter where we are in the world. Ghana's president understands that this one, as he like, but there's this thing that like we don't get to disconnect. We don't get to say, there is this thread of connectivity. I think we have to kind of, yeah, the investment, business wise, it's just smart. Like for us for our companies, it's smart for us to do this now. We're going to continue. We have another film now on Next Narrative Africa Fund. Like we're going to continue to do this. We're not going to stop making movies just because, some platforms, which will remain nameless, say they don't want to buy Ghana. We're going to keep making movies just because, so it's like we have to just continue. We're just going to continue we get smarter about it. Why an investor should invest. It's any investor that is investing in the arts is investing most likely you can't ever really promise a return. Like that's something, a producer really has to go the bat for. It's like you can't guarantee a return, even if Brad Pitt's in your film. Like you don't know because it could rain. Something could happen. COVID could happen and no one goes and sees it. Like there's so many huge things, but what you have to sell people is the cultural currency of a film. You have to sell them that like this thing has to exist in the world because it changes us. It drives us in this new direction. And then you also help to put things in place to make that investor feel safe, to say, we're going to try and put it, attach a sales agent early. We're going to try and put a name in, like there's things that you can do to make people feel a little safer as an investment, but there's no safe investment in film. But I still think people invest because the importance of telling story is one that comes from like who we are as just human beings.
All right. All right. But then again, it brings me still back to my question that why the need to now take the movie from Ghana to the other parts of Africa? Because, it's a Ghanaian story anyway. So why should the people in Kenya know about it? Why should the people in Zambia know about a Ghanaian story? What influenced the decision?
It's the influence is I think it's like in Kwame Nkrumah's, Pan-Africanism, the idea that we don't have to be born in Africa, but Africa is born in us. The idea that like stories are not translating. You see, xenophobia in different places and the inability to understand and empathize with another culture on your own continent. That's where stories become really important because they create that gap. They bridge that gap where people become people and humans become humans.
All right. Kofi, anything you want to add to that? As the producer of it as well.
No, she said it all. It's why not? This is a film that everybody can relate to, can see themselves, especially on the continent, can see themselves in the characters that are in the various characters that are portrayed in the film. So it's a no-brainer. I've always said that we shouldn't in Ghana we keep trying to cage ourselves with just getting our films within the West African region, but there are other parts of the world that would actually love to see our films. So why don't we? And that's where I think distribution comes in, because if we get our networks right, it's a no-brainer. Once it's out, everybody gets to see it and enjoy it. And then we, you tend to find that we have so many similarities in culture, and how we treat people is it should be done. It should have been done a long time ago. But hey, there's no time like the present.
All right. Now I'll come to you, Nee, Endurance, and Uncle Ricky, because yesterday we were able to have the press screening, and we got to see the movie again and everything. As people who played roles in the movie, how do you assess the press's response to it? Because I was actually paying attention to it. I was sitting by one lady and I was asking her, do you understand what is going on? And she was very positive about it. So how do you assess the press response to everything that happened yesterday?
I'm gonna go first.
You
When we were watching the film, I was looking for my director. I was like, "Where's Zoe? Is Zoe here?" They're like, "Oh, she's doing work outside." I was like, "Okay," and I spoke to my friend William.
Can you be audible a bit?
Okay, okay. So I
Yeah.
was speaking to my friend William, and I was like, "Do they get the sense of humor in this film? Because I don't understand." There's a point where there's supposed to be like a burst of laughter, right?
Yeah.
And it looks like we are the only ones laughing. I'm like, okay, really? Do they understand the sense of humor? And then he extended to explain to me that this is my first time. He said, this is a press screening, and mostly they are here to not just have a good time, they are here to give feedback to the community. And I was like, okay, then it's not that deep. This is actually, we are all here to learn from the film and not just have fun, but we're here to also, they are here to also let their people know that this is actually a good film to come watch. We will take in or put or hide our emotions or fun aspect of us to do the work. So yeah, that was like my assessment
All
yesterday.
right. All right.
It's
All right.
And just to
William?
add, just to add to what Indian said, yes, exactly. After the movie, after the screening, the feedback from the press, I feel was very positive.
Yes.
Because they were very much excited about the film. They were fascinated about how everything was put together. And some people like were like, oh, I think Ghana is a very beautiful place.
Exactly.
And they would like to, visit there to, enjoy some of the sceneries and all that. So from the press screening yesterday, I think it was
a very
amazing.
positive
It was
vibe.
positive.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. All right. All right. And the lead actor, anything you want to add?
Well, I will come back to this, but then I want to add to what the director and the producer said about why bring the film to Kenya. And then what do we think the Kenyans will pick from the film? Where in Africa, marriage between two people, a lady and a man, is not just between the two. I'm talking about our traditions and our culture. That marriage between you and the lady is a marriage between two great families and a whole community. So the value is placed highly on that. So after the movie, now let me come here. The type of questions they were asking us during the press, interview showed that they were really following everything
Yes.
that was coming on that screen and really enjoyed it because they told us a whole lot of things about they didn't know Ghana is so beautiful, especially talking about the locations we use in the movie. We have very great locations in Ghana. And they would want to also visit Ghana and even spend time in Ghana. So I think it was positive. They really understood and I believe even the reviews that we're receiving today, comments from their press, very, very positive.
It's very positive.
And then
And
one thing too, I'd like, sorry not to cut
Yeah.
you, I would like to add is that the press also expressed how happy they were about our performance in the film.
Yeah.
And I feel it's a great deal because for a film from Ghana to be well received by the people of Kenya and understood.
Yeah.
And I feel like they understanding the talents and how we poured our God-given talent into the
into it,
film
yeah.
and they appreciating it. I find it to be very, very fascinating to us as well.
Exactly.
Now, it's good that you're mentioning this because, we are looking to take Africa to the world. But one of the questions that keeps coming to mind every time, and this to you, Mike and John, do you think Africa is ready to compete globally?
I mean, I'll start, but I just kudos to like the team for even there's a mindset, and Zoe can probably attest to this. Like in America, when you think of like black film, I feel like, and this is just my perspective, that black people make films and think their audience is black people. White people make films and think their audience is everyone, right? And it's a
Mm,
mindset. So even here in like we made our film for the West versus the East, I think it's like the fact that y'all are pushing it out across the continent. I think that's the first thing that has to be done, right? Like we got to crack this mindset that we're making our film specifically for our people. We can tell our stories, but that doesn't mean that not everyone can embrace and find value from our stories. But I think maybe it's bigger than the Africa. I think it's like a mindset that we have as people that our stories aren't stories that everyone can relate to and can find valuable. So kudos to the
mm,
team for even pushing it out across the continent and kind of breaking that. I think that Africa is ready for like the global stage. Especially from the talent standpoint, I think there's some things that we still need to do from like the production and some of the other things, because people now have like an expectation for how things are delivered.
mm.
And so we have to ensure that we meet that expectation because they're always looking for a reason why we're not enough. And so we can't give them that reason. So we always got to be, as we say in America, like 10 times better. And I think we still have to recognize that. So people who don't look like us can get away with maybe doing something that's kind of not at a standard. We don't have that. So we always have to ensure that everything we deliver. But from like a talent standpoint, absolutely. From a storytelling standpoint, absolutely. I just think there's some other things that we can continue to tighten up just to make sure that when we introduce to the world and we get our one shot, that we take advantage of that.
All right, all right, all right. John, anything you want to add to that?
No, I think it was perfect. Nothing to add. Nothing to add. I want to
Mm,
make
mm,
sure we give
mm.
other folks some time, but I thought it was the perfect answer.
All right. But I mean, coming back to the producers and the director, or the producer and the director, what do you think is that one opportunity or that one thing that we need to focus on? Or yeah, because I feel like there are so many things, but then we are not, focusing on that one thing that we really need from what you've done, taking it across the continent and everything. What is that thing that we need to focus on as a creative economy of Africa, as Africans? So what is that one thing that we need to focus on? Is it storytelling? Is it, what is that one thing?
I mean, I would say the stories could because we have them in abundance, and there's nobody who can tell our stories better than we can.
Mm,
So just getting our stories to the point where it would interest somebody, like once you put it into a script, an investor would immediately go like, hey, I would like to see the end product of this, and I would like to put myself into, put some money behind this. So storytelling should be top notch.
mm.
For in my perspective, from my
All right,
perspective.
all right, all right. Zoe?
Um, I mean, even in the States, it's like I remember my mom one day, she goes, you're not like I don't come from wealth. I come from quite a lot of poverty. And she was like, she had this realization. She's like, I think only like rich, like you need rich parents to be an artist, right? Or you have to have like 7 jobs to like sustain yourself. And I think part of that is about access. It's like to get the writing software to create a script that looks at it took me years before I could afford to buy the software that I could format my scripts correctly. Without that, I was having to use Word, and it was so hard. And they didn't look professional, really, because that's not the professional delivery of a script, right? That's one thing. The editing software is expensive. Everything is expensive. So it's like access, providing access. But where I got access, I would say, America has public libraries. They have, and weirdly enough, public libraries have Final Cut Pro. The Premiere. Like you can go to the public libraries and actually use editing software, and I was like, it's those kind of services that make it hard. You have the drive. I get, I was at the REF Awards and I get attacked by screenwriters, and I'm like, yeah, how do I get it to look that way? What did the, they don't even know that this is the software because it's still on the inside. But at the same time, it's hard for me to tell them to get the software because I know the cost of that software. Like these are up and coming students that are script writers that like I could barely afford, and I made US dollars at, working at a restaurant. Like, I don't know how in Ghana you're going to pay for screenwriting software as a student. It's expensive. I wouldn't tell them to do that. So it's a lot of like, is there a public space where they could go and use a computer and do it at is there a place where, I used the AV club at my school, but again, I went to a US
For structure.
where I had an AV club. So there's things like that that can help. There's small things, but that can help creatives. Then there's large things that can help bring film into countries, like making sure that the country or the government has a conversation with the insurance brokers so that you can get production insurance and like crew can insure their gear. So that if the sound guy invests tons of money in these really amazing microphones, that now everybody sounds amazing and the sound's incredible, but somebody sweats or falls or it rains on it and he loses his gear, he can insure that gear and get that back, right? That's not available in Ghana or most African countries outside of South Africa. And so when you lose that and someone sweats or it rains, they can't now, there's nobody there that has that equipment anymore. It's just gone, and then you have to save $700, $800, $1,800 to buy a new Real Pro lav. Those are expensive, even to a US sound person. So those are the kind of systems that are on a larger scale. So there's just different scales to it, but I wouldn't say that that's not a reason to do it.
I like that. I like that. I like the fact that you go and then you're like, it doesn't mean we don't have to do it. We still have to do
Well,
it.
because I came from we raised no money to make a theater play in literally a theater that had we didn't even have set money. We just put up a black box, show in New York City. And all we could afford was we raised money and we used all the money for a PR rep. And literally the show sold out and it started my whole career as a writer. So and it was only just actors on a stage because we couldn't afford, and we had to wear our own clothes. So couldn't afford costumes and I couldn't even afford 2 actors. I had to do the other role. So I just am you can make it work. You shouldn't stop just because you don't have, you just have to keep doing it because if every time I didn't have, I stopped and I just worked other jobs. I just made sure those jobs weren't defining me. I supported myself through very undesirable jobs, but jobs nonetheless.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I know you're doing amazing with this glorious podcast, but what Mike and John don't know is that I'm getting messages in the background that they were supposed to be somewhere 10 minutes ago, and these investors are not pleased with you too. So,
right.
so maybe just do a 1-minute wrap up.
Yeah, sure. So this is my final question, actually. I was actually, coming to that. Now, to the Burns brothers, what does the future look like for the creative economy of Africa for you as the deal architects, like you like to describe yourself? What does it look like for you, with all that you're doing and everything? What's that vision that you have, that you want to achieve?
Yeah, and I'll be brief. I think the vision is working with partners on the ground. We're already in conversations with a number of partners, and obviously this call has actually given us more insight around how we can even add additional partners, about how we have to be really intentional about creating a strategy and the framework that actually supports the growth and scaling of this industry. Because if it's piecemeal and it's siloed, it will not be productive and it will not work. And so what we're trying to do is identify partners that are they want to be part of the solution, have obviously different sets of expertise, but everybody can come together to collaborate over a very, very intentional strategy. We always give the example of South Korea about 3 decades ago. K-pop didn't just become this global movement by happenstance. South Korea was incredibly intentional about building a framework, a strategy over multiple decades that they deployed. They created the infrastructure. They created the talent academies. They created the studios. They created all of that from a public and private sector partnership. I think if you use that as a case study to ultimately inform how Africa, whether it be East Africa, West Africa, or South Africa, or the continent as a whole, could move forward, it has to be based upon an intentional, built out strategy and framework that allows everybody to kind of take a part of this strategy and kind of go off in their own own places. But I think there has to be some intentionality around it.
Right,
and just to add to that point, and if you do that intentionality, then you ultimately, I think our dream is that people come because they recognize the value of the creator space on the continent versus the creator space on the continent have to prove and push, right? That let me prove to you. You want people coming, and then ultimately you want the creator economy to drive GDP, right? You want it to be like the K-pop. K-pop drives tons of GDP to Korea. Like tons of people are coming, even if you look at Japan, tons of people are coming to Japan who are not Japanese for anime and for Pokemon and for all those things. They have identities that drive value to the economies. And I think that's what the creative sector has the ability to do for the continent of Africa.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, John Burns, Mike Burns, Zoe, Kofi, William, Endurance, and Uncle Ricky. I really enjoyed it so much. And I'm sure we all, were able to pick a thing or two, and also we enjoyed ourselves.
Yeah. And we want to see the movie. So how do we see the trailer? How do we see the movie? Where do we get it?
We can send
I think so. We can arrange that.
I'll send you a link.
We should. I mean, I don't know if this is okay, but we should screen it in the U.S. We have some great partnerships. We should do something in the U.S. too, if that's of interest. We'd love to be helpful with that.
Yeah, we love it. The U.S. We've gone into so many festivals. It was actually nominated for an NAACP Image Award for outstanding international motion picture this year.
No way! Congratulations!
We've won the American Black Film. It's actually been doing really well in the United States. People love this film. It's about to do a pop-up tour in cinemas in July. We're just
we can go see it then. That's amazing.
And probably these are indie cinemas, so who knows? But but we're working on it. We're working on it. We're just trying to finalize deals, but we can definitely in the meantime send you a link.
It'll be confidential. We will not share it.
Congrats to you, obviously you all in the bottom right, but to all the actors as well. Like you have to have great producers and writers, but they're only as good as the people who are bringing the story to life on the camera. So kudos to you all as well, and would love to see how we can continue to support you and however we can.
Thank you so much.
And we're really close with the Kuna, and I know you guys got the I guess part of that whole thing with the Kuna Cook.
Yeah.
Congratulations. That's massive.
We're the unknowns.
Yes. Nobody knows that.
I mean, Trevor Noah,
and they're like, and them.
That's okay, but you're part of the group, which is amazing. Yeah.
All right, guys.
So much.
Thank you very much, and
thank you all.
Thank you.
It was fun. And go enjoy your meeting.
Job. Okay.
Come again?
I said good job with the interview too. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Mike, John, I'll call you guys later. Thank you.
All right. Thanks.